Hi, my name is Brittany and welcome to my Boldly Rise YouTube channel where we talk about DIYs that are budget friendly, home decor tips, tricks, and ideas for your home, especially those of you who want your home to speak the name of Jesus. And we also do Bible study devos, scripture insights, encouragement, all the things needed for you to grow in your faith with Jesus. But today we're going to be talking about how to take a side table with metal stands, metal legs, and a wooden top, whether it be a side table for your bedroom, the living room, wherever you want this table to be. We're going to learn how to take that from a super cheap buy off of Facebook Marketplace and turning it into something that really fits with your home and that you're looking for. We're going to spray paint the edges. The legs, the metal legs, but I'll show you how to do that really easily, really cheaply, and I'll show you how to freshen up that wood top to make it so nice, to make it go from it's definitely been used to wow, it looks brand new. And guys, we're going to do this so cheaply, it is going to blow your mind. So let's get started. We're going to take this side table and its look-alike with the metal legs and the wood top, and we are going to turn it into something amazing, and it's going to look like this. How beautiful is that transformation? I bought these for under $13 from the Facebook Marketplace, and friends, you can find great deals like this too. You just have to take the time to find them and then get creative with how you could transform that deal into the exact thing you're looking for. So let's get started with step one, gather your items. Okay, first things first, your spray paint. I am using Krylon's Paint and Primer Black Satin Spray Paint. I have never used this paint and primer combo before, but I absolutely loved how it turned out, and I highly, highly recommend that you use it for your project. Next, you're absolutely going to need safety tools like safety glasses and a mask. Spray paint blows around a lot, and you definitely don't want to breathe it in or get it in your eyes. You also need some sort of screwdriver to disassemble the metal legs from the wood, if your stand can do that. If not, don't worry about it. You'll also need 220 extra fine grit sandpaper to lightly, and I really do stress lightly, sand the metal legs in order to prepare it for the spray paint. Wherever you're doing this DIY, a canvas sheet or a drip cloth is super nice to have just to keep the spray paint all together. And also a new super nice helpful trick here, use a box that's big enough as the backdrop for your project to limit how much spray paint is blown around. If you're sanding the wood top or anything wood, a random orbital sander is really nice to have. This is actually my first time using this one. It was a Christmas present, but because of life, I'm just now being able to use it. I'm also using 120 and 220 grit sandpaper in that order for when I sand. So your next step is to detach the metal from the wood. Super easy, just unscrew it. It's usually simple as that. Step 3, lightly sand the metal pieces. Basically what you're doing here is you're sanding really lightly all the pieces that you're going to be spray painting in order for the spray paint to actually adhere to the metal. Without it, I'm actually going to show a video later what happens without it, but the paint will not stick if you don't sand it down just really lightly. Then when you're done sanding, you want to take a wet paper towel and just wipe it down really quick, and then after that you want to take a dry paper towel and just make sure all the dust and debris is off of it and that it's ready to go to spray paint. Step 4, shake and spray away. Basically all you're doing here is you're shaking the can as long as the can tells you to, and then you're going to spray down your metal, and you're going to spray all the layers depending on what the instructions on the can says. With this one, every time that I spray a new thin coat, I have to wait 1 minute in between the coats, but it's different for each can of spray paint, so you're just gonna have to see what your can of spray paint says if you're not using the Krylon spray paint. When you're finished with one side of the legs, carefully with gloves turn your item to spray paint the other side so that we can get it equally coated on every single side and you're not missing anything. Every once in a while you'll see me reshake the can. You really want to do that in order to really mix up that paint and primer together before you spray. So after it kind of sits for a couple minutes or a few minutes, you may just want to shake it up a little bit before you continue spray painting. And now we're going to repeat the whole process for the other stand. So now that we're done with that, we're going to move on to step 5, which is sand down the wood top. I'm using the Bosch 5-inch variable speed random orbit sander. I'm so excited, I finally get to use it. I've been waiting months to use it. I got it for a Christmas present and now I finally get to use it. So first I'm using the 120 grit sandpaper to really get that first layer off really well. Then I'm going to use the 220 sand grit. It's the extra fine. It really smoothes things out, but you want to use it in that order. So when you're sanding, you don't want to apply too much pressure with the sander. Just hold it enough so that it doesn't go flying out of your hands. You let the sander do the work, not your arm, because otherwise the sander won't work and you'll wear it out. You'll hear often that you don't want to sand against the grain, you want to sand with the grain, but sometimes you just can't, and it's okay if you can't. You just want to get it as smooth as you can, and if you're going to stain it, you want to try and get rid of those scratchy lines, especially against the wood, in order to make it look nice. If you're using a sander like this, make sure to align the holes on the sanding paper with the holes on the sander so that the sander can actually do its work and suck up all that sawdust. To make this project even more budget friendly, if you don't have an electric sander, you can sand the whole thing by hand using the same 120 and 220 grit sandpaper. I'm doing it on the edges just because it's easier than using the orbital sander. But if you don't have a sander, don't go out and buy one, just buy some cheap sandpaper. For the final step, just put it all back together, step back and enjoy your work. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helps you in your spray painting DIY project. And if it did, please subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all of the fun DIY ideas, tips, and tricks. Bye!